Let's take a trip back in time, shall we? The year was 1999, just before the turn of the century. I was 9 years old. Disneyland was celebrating their 45 years of magic. The parade going down Main Street was the Parade of Stars, and Royce just got to meet the Mad Hatter for the first time. This is my story of my first trip to Disneyland. Hello there everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Royce. I am a painter, sculptor, and a collector, and today I thought we would do something totally different and just do a sit and talk. And I have just been going through some of my very old photographs of my first trip to Disneyland, and I honestly had forgotten when the date was, but luckily when I was a kid, I wrote down, I don't know if you could see that, the date of when I went. And this was August 14th, 1999. And that just seems like a lifetime ago. I was not one of those kids that grew up around any parks. I was 3.5 hours away from Disneyland in California, a very, very rural town. And I had always loved Disney, grown up with Disney, loved all the movies, all the characters. And I have always known of Disneyland, but I just never was able to go. And when the day finally came, when my mom told me, hey, we're gonna go with my friend Marcus and his daughter, he's gonna drive us. And I think that was the biggest issue. I was pretty much raised by a single mother, and she just was afraid of the drive. She'd never been to LA before, so she just didn't know. And we finally were able to go. What I remember, my first memory is pulling up and seeing a ton of construction. And this was during the era when Disney's California Adventure was still under construction, which is just insane to think that that was not even open yet. And I don't remember parking, I don't remember the trams, I don't remember anything except going into the gates and walking through the tunnel. And I still get goosebumps thinking about that first time, because when you're a kid, it is just, it's just magical. There's no other word to describe your first trip. And I remember just walking through the tunnel and just seeing Main Street open and just being overwhelmed with excitement and joy and happiness and just all the good feelings that you want to feel as a kid. And I remember this was actually my first time seeing a character, and my first character I ever seen at Disneyland was Alice and the Mad Hatter. They were right by the flagpole in like the Town Square area. And I went with, like I said, my mom's friend Marcus and his daughter. I believe her name was Danielle, and you'll see her in a couple of these photos. And she really just was all about the characters, and that's all she kind of wanted to do. So we spent a lot of time taking pictures with characters, and I'm thankful now, even though when I remember that day, I was very frustrated because I didn't really want to meet a ton of characters. I wanted just to ride rides and have fun. So it was just a different experience, but this is my picture with Alice, and this is my first character I ever met. And she was just so fun. I remember her saying like, oh, she liked my shirt, something along those lines. And I then met the Mad Hatter, which for me was just an insane dream come true. And then we went across the way to the Mad Hatter shop, which is still there today. And I actually picked up, you know that green Mad Hatter hat that a lot of people still actually wear from time to time? Well, I have a surprise. I still have mine. This is my original Mad Hatter hat from that day, and I have kept it all these years, and it's surprisingly in decent condition, unlike a lot of the other things from that era, and I guess it still fits. And these are just really neat. They're very, very simple, kind of like something that you pick up at like a fair, you know, kind of like foam. And this foam does deteriorate over time, so I don't know how long I'll have it, but I'm trying to take as good care of it as I can. I also have, gosh, let me think. I know we went to the Emporium and we were kind of weird. We kind of did the opposite. You're supposed to shop at the end, but no, we went into the Emporium next, and we picked up like a cup, a magnet, and like a souvenir book of like the 45-year anniversary. And here's a picture of how that book looked. I have no idea where it went. I remember having it for a very long time, but it's lost in time. Okay, so we went down Main Street, and I can remember seeing Ariel's grotto next. And Ariel for me has always been a very favorite character of mine. I love the color. This may sound weird, but I just love the color callouts of that film and the series. They have established such a vibe and such a theme, and it's just aesthetically very pleasing for my eye. The colors of, I guess, the sea, red and blue together, is just very beautiful. And I got to meet Ariel, and this was during the time when King Triton, who is now up on DCA's, like, he's up on the roof of the attraction now, but back in the day he used to be in the water. He used to go down and come out and spout water out of his Triton, and I remember that. And then I got to meet Ariel, and the first time I met Ariel was when she was in Fins, and she was so fun. I don't remember anything about what we talked about, but it's just fun to have a photo with her. And then after that, I remember we finally went on rides, and we ran to Small World, and I remember seeing the facade of Small World, and I was just so overwhelmed. I thought that was the castle at this point. I was like, wow, this is just so fun, so colorful. Mary Blair just did such an amazing job with that facade design. And I rode Small World, and it was just such a fun ride. I mean, to this day, it's just one of my favorites, and it really captured my heart that day. And then I remember going to Toontown, and then in Toontown is where I actually met Goofy, and the only photo survived from that is in horrible condition, but I try to remaster it for you. Here it is. And he was just, you know, a fun character to meet. I remember going on Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin. I also remember going on Gadget's Go Coaster, and I remember playing in Chip 'n Dale's Treehouse and just being fascinated by that because I was obsessed. When I mean obsessed, I mean obsessed with Chip 'n Dale, because during that era on Toon Disney, there was a show called Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. I'm sure you've all heard of the reboot, but yeah, during that time, they were like, those were my monks. And I just was thrilled to be in their house. And then we went back over to like the castle area, and then I saw the Matterhorn, and because I was 9, I was actually old enough to ride it, and I was just infatuated with the Matterhorn from that day on. And I actually have a Matterhorn video coming up telling you about how I was finally able to build a replica of the Matterhorn in my backyard, and I actually was able to work on the Yeti when I worked as a figure finisher maintenance painter at the park, and that was just like a dream come true. But after the Matterhorn, I don't remember the order, honestly. I just remember going to Matterhorn, Pirates, and then we ended up taking a break, and I do remember my lunch. We went to, I think it's called Cook Corner now. I have no clue if that's what it was called in '99, but I had a hot dog and cheese, what are those called? Cheez-Its, not Cheez-Its. It's like that cheetah. I'm so sorry to that brand, I cannot remember, but I remember eating that, and then, I don't know, I think my mom was like, oh, there's a parade coming. So I watched the parade, and the parade was the Parade of Stars, and here are some photos. That parade for me was just amazing. I loved, and when I mean loved, I mean I was borderline obsessed with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. We used to go to Blockbuster and rent the movie and then return it and then go rent another one. And that was a cycle that happened for years until my mom finally found somebody that owned the VHS and bought it, because when that era, when I was little, I guess it was back in the vault and we could not find it anywhere. So for me, finally being able to see the dwarfs in person was life altering to me. I remember seeing Happy bouncing and Sleepy and Bashful, and I was just screaming at them. And this was a weird time when they used to let guests walk the parade route with capes, I guess. And oddly enough, the people that we were with, Danielle and Marcus, she knew somebody in the parade and she was screaming. They came over. I was just very confused because, I mean, we're 3.5 hours away. How do you know somebody here? It was just so coincidental. But yeah, and after the parade, all I remember really is riding the train and seeing the dinosaurs. And that was, of course, as a kid, seeing real life dinosaurs. They're real. And, you know, for all of these memories that I have, working at Disneyland kind of brought it full circle, because I remember riding the Jungle Cruise and I got to work the Jungle Cruise. I remember, you know, riding the Matterhorn. I remember finally being able to walk around the Matterhorn at night, you know, when no one else was there, just me and my mentor. And it just really brought everything full circle. And when I was a painter, as an animatronics painter, I really felt such a responsibility, because I want them to imprint on a child the same imprint I had of a memory of a time when. And it was just, to this day, you just never forget your first Disney trip. And I will always be so thankful to Marcus for taking us. And the next time I went, I would think I was like 13 or 14. And then the next time I went, I was a senior in high school. So I did not go very much in my youth. And then, of course, I worked at Disney College program. And then from then on out, it was just like an everyday thing. And it does kind of lose its magic. So I don't know what was right when he kind of like said, it's not a mall. You shouldn't treat it as that. You should go only once or twice, you know, a month max, because working the park, and I know this is kind of going to be negative, but guests were very, how do I say this nicely? I mean, there is really no nice way to say it. Guests were very, very rude to me and to a lot of my coworkers, especially when we worked the parade route or fireworks or even attractions. They were very entitled and they knew everything. And it was just, you know, I thought to myself a lot in that time, if you weren't here so often, you wouldn't be upset because you wouldn't know, you know? And it's kind of one of those things where going somewhere like Disneyland should be a treat. It should be a special event. It shouldn't be a trip to the mall, a pastime, you know? And that's how I feel when I go to Disney World still, because I've only been there 4 or 5 times, and it still sustains that magic that honestly has been lost for me at Disneyland at this point. But I did get to experience a whole new world, so to speak, when I went to Disneyland Paris. It was just like, oh, it's new, it's fresh, it's something I've never seen before. And that is so exciting as an adult to be able to have that feeling. And I remember talking to so many adults at Disneyland. This is our first time. I'm just like, wow, maybe I was lucky to be able to experience it at such a young age, because I could not imagine growing up. And I know Disney is not for everyone. Not everyone's as obsessed as I was, but I for sure couldn't have imagined my life without that experience, because after I came home, I was just like, wow, this is where I want to live. This is kind of what I want to do. And then Disney Channel came out with a program called Imagineer That, and Tony Baxter was on there. He was talking about Imagineering and designing rides, and that's when I designed my first model of the Small World in cardboard, and it just sparked everything and kind of set my career forward. And I wanted to start drawing and painting, and you'll see like on some of my old photos, pictures on the wall of things that I was creating, logos, and I was just so in love with the company. And Disneyland just still always will hold a very special place in my heart. Always has, always will. to this day. My favorite rides are Pirates, Small World, Matterhorn, Tiki Room, the classics. Well, everyone, that is all the time we have for today on this episode of Imagine with Royce. If you liked it, please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell icon. That way you're notified whenever I upload a new video. I want to know about your first trip to Disneyland. When was it and what's your memory? Share some pictures. You can always email me or message me on Instagram. My Instagram is Imagine with Royce. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and always remember not only to follow your dreams, but to chase them.